The meeting is to be taken as a consent by a person to their image and or voice being webcast. All speakers should refrain from making defamatory comments or releasing personal information about another individual without their consent. The Council accepts no liability for any damage that may result from defamatory comments made by persons attending meetings. All liability will rest with the individual who made the comments. The meeting must not be recorded by others without prior written consent of the Council in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice.
Thank you. Welcome councillors and staff, and also the gallery for the attendance at this meeting. I thought perhaps one or two more might have been sitting in the gallery today. I'd like you to stand for the prayer and acknowledgement of country. Dear Lord, help us in deliberations today so that our decisions will be for the greater good for the whole of the Wentworth Shire. Amen. And I'd like to pay my respects and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, and pay my respects to elders. Thank you. You may sit down. Thank you. Our authorities were all here, and it's good to see Councillor McKinnon here today. So well done. Also, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any applications for leave of absence?
I'll be unavailable for the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Any disclosures of interest? Nobody has any disclosures of interest. Confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 20th of October 2021.
With an amendment, Madam Mayor, if I may.
Okay, Councillor McAllister, and please. Councillor Noonan, and your amendment, please, Councillor McAllister.
Page 47, Madam Mayor, point 2 has a superfluous and right at the end of it. Perhaps that can just be tidied up.
Thank you. Any other amendments? Those in favour? That's carried. And also that the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 3rd of November 21 be confirmed as circulated. Move and second, please. Councillor Haywood, second, please. Councillor Evans.
That was actually the amendment within that one, Madam Mayor, sorry. 47.
Any further comments? Those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Go over to 6.1. Reports. The September quarterly budget review. Second, please. Councillor Evans, second, please.
Sorry, on page 50. Madam Mayor.
Oh, there are no way to get through it quickly today, won't I? Outstanding matters from previous council. Minutes. Reports. Move to the second, please. Councillor Evans will take care. Councillor McKinnon. They're down there. The only thing that's missing there was that I was also at the meeting with Minister Pavey on the 23rd. The edit, please.
What common sense, if any, do you get out of Minister Pavey?
Minister Pavey actually was prepared to listen. She sat and she went with all the groups. We had all groups down there, which was good. What's that squawking? We had the Aboriginal people were well represented. Rachel Strawn was there, and she went around, and I think as a minister she listens, but I suppose like everyone else that's in government, they're restricted with what they can and they can't do. Certainly showed attention to to everybody there and answered. She was over.
I suppose like everyone, they should have taken everything on board.
Yes.
But the ship never leaves the dock.
Quite often the ship's like something.
The ship sinks at the bloody dock.
Okay. Now those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Reports from committees, 8.1 Internal Audit and Risk Management Committee. Move it please, Councillor.
Could I move it with an amendment, Madam Mayor?
Yes. You get a second first, second please.
Second.
Councillor Haywood, your amendment, Councillor.
At point C, notes the interim audit management letter. And, so instead of after notes, I would like to add and continues to work to resolve issues identified in the interim audit management letter. I think if it's not explicit, it could easily be missed.
Okay. Are there any questions of the audit management committee meeting? No questions. Those in favour? That's carried. 9.1, the general manager's report. There is a recommendation.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Elstone. Second approved, Councillor McKinnon. Are there any questions of the general manager? Easy today, no questions. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. 9.2. Easy to do business, Service New South Wales. The recommendation there, please. Someone move it.
I'll move it, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Callister, second, Councillor Elstone. Are there questions? No. Those in favour? Carried. Anyone against?
That'll be good.
9.3, the Australia Day Awards for 2022. We will hand out sheets of paper now, please, and we'll put those that you have chosen on those pieces of paper. They will be announced on Australia Day.
Sorry, I don't know if I can go in any further.
Thank you.
You can put it go, we'll just take them up again.
We just went left back right here.
On each box, on each
Just
category,
put
Bill.
across on, or hit wherever.
One of each. There's 3 boxes on voting.
Just hold it for you, Councillor.
Secret ballot.
Yep. We'll finish that. Perhaps the general manager may just like to announce the proposal of what we went through a couple of years ago about where this function could go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was resolved by the council that there'd be one function held on the eve before Australia Day to be held at the Coomella Club. That was a resolution of this council some 3 years ago, but it never really got action. So with COVID and the need to conduct 8 citizenship ceremonies during the function, we intend to carry out the resolution of council to hold the function at the Coomella Memorial Sporting Club on the eve of Australia Day on the 25th of January, and bring it together as one function right across the Shire to bring everyone together into a central location. That was a resolution of this council about 3 years ago. So the intent is due to COVID restrictions and manning and COVID management safety plans and whatever else, we intend to carry out that resolution in the 2022 Australia Day.
We don't have a mover or a seconder yet, so councillor Hayward, a seconder please. Councillor Elstone, those in favour? Carried, thank you, councillors. 9.4, the monthly financial report.
So moved.
Thanks, councillor Johnson. Seconder please. Councillor McKinnon. Are there any questions on 9.4?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, councillor Sullivan.
if I may, page 149. I'm interested in how we can incorrectly charge bulk landfill and what the procedures are there. I would hope that it's probably not automated, but I'm interested in the process.
Sorry, Councillor Dawes. Yeah, that one was because Cleanway also do the contract for picking up our curbside rubbish as well. When that curbside truck came through to drop off the waste at landfill, the operator at the weighbridge accidentally charged it against Cleanway instead of charging it against us as a Shire account.
So that the way that error occurred has been rectified?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, I did ask the question regarding Clarkey Housing Corp, where there's a credit raised on those 21 properties, and perhaps the new council may need to look at having those put somewhere as a charity, as we can't claim general rates, we are able to claim sewage and water, so it might be something that the next council may need to look at so that it doesn't give an inflated figure in our general rate figure. Yes, councillor.
With all due respect, Madam Mayor, why can't we charge the rates we always have? Or you're talking about the ones in Namatjira?
Oh, scattered throughout the Shire, Councillor McKinnon, so there's some I think there's some Moody Park in Narra and some elsewhere in Dead and Baronga.
They're in Matong Street.
Yeah, well, everywhere. Why aren't we charging rates or we just can't pay?
It's a local government act, says that a benevolent society, benevolent organisation and
Well, we know that, but apart from that, the act has been changed.
the act is actually written this way, it's written.
Okay. Should have guessed.
Sorry, councillor.
Just I wanted to give Councillor McAllister an update on the T Corp situation. I've heard that everything was ready to go, and then when Mr. Perrottet, as the Treasurer, was fortunate enough to be elected as the Premier, he was ready to sign off on giving everyone access to the T Corp loans, and when he became Premier, that's sort of gone back to the new Treasurer to consider, so it's sort of been put on hold due to Mr. Perrottet's elevation to becoming Premier. That's the word I got back from T Corp when I spoke to them as to why nothing had happened when they said it was getting very close to happening.
So have we made, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, if I may, has Council made any attempts to contact Mr. Keane, who I think is now the Treasurer?
No, I've only found that out a couple of days ago.
Okay. Is that something that's likely to happen, do you think?
What we can do, we can contact his office and just find out where that process is up to.
Do you need a motion here in order to progress that?
We've had a previous motion on the books to contact the Treasurer.
Indeed.
Mr. Barilaro in his previous role to keep fast tracking that. So I think it would just be a general inquiry to his office to sort of see, now that he's the Treasurer, where that's sitting.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I think an expression of urgency might be in order, just considering the amount of time it's taken to elicit a response in the first place.
Open on board, Mr. Rule.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions? Those in favour? Some councils aren't, but those against, some aren't voting. Thank you. 9.5, the monthly investment report. Recommendation, please. Move and seconder, please.
Move.
Councillor McAllister, Councillor Moon. Are there any questions
I do have one.
Yes, Councillor Tellison.
I'm just trying to find it. Page 154, the second last in the top table, Murray-Darling Basin upstairs area. I'm not clear what that is. Mayor?
The Civic Centre, we've been successful in some grant money to provide the function centre upstairs at the Civic Centre.
So that's money that's come through the Murray-Darling Basin Authority, is it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's good.
Are there any other questions?
Only a comment if I can, Madam Mayor, I'm just looking at the external restrictions on the water fund. Probably a question to Jeff Gunning. Like, any update or latest news on how we're going on the scope of works that Public Works are doing?
Public Works, we've been having regular meetings with those guys. They are now free to travel, so we have the manager and the staff that are working on the integrated water cycle management plan together with DPI here at the end of this month, and Public Works are here for I think a 2-week period working out of our office with regards to finalisation of the last bit of data and information that they need, together with site visits and tours and stuff of our water and wastewater facilities at that particular time, with a view to progressing the plan and through to a draft stage ready for us early in the new year. So that's progressing pretty well.
Thank you.
Any others? I have one on page 153, under internal restrictions. We've got doubtful debts of 124,000. That seems significant. Can you please explain what most of those are concerning?
Most of that is just based on, so a couple of years ago they changed the standards around how we calculate doubtful debts, and it's more based on a percentage, a history percentage of our total debts over a period of time. So the reason why that is high at the moment is because at the end of June we had a number of invoices in to be paid for grants, so we pushed our outstanding creditors, or sorry, outstanding debtors high at the end of June, so it's a timing difference. They've all been paid. So yeah, we don't have $124,000 worth of debts outstanding, but based on our history of it's about 5%, 5 or 6% lifetime sort of history. But when you've got a high figure at the end of June, it makes that figure look a little bit higher than what it probably is. So the movement from last year between the 2 financial years was about $9,000 from 1920 to 2021.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? No other questions, those in favour? Carried, thank you. Now 9.6, presentation again of financial statements. We're going to welcome Brett and Manuel. So, Mr. Drew.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors and members of the public, we've got Manuel Moncada, who is the representative of the Audit Office and who's the person in the Audit Office who's responsible for ensuring that our audit is done in a timely fashion. They outsource the actual works on the ground to Nexia, and so we've got Brett Hanger, who's the audit partner from Nexia, here also to fulfil our statutory obligations to present the annual financial statements to the public and to potentially answer any questions that anybody has. At this stage, the public notice has been in the paper for the last 2 weeks. I've had no formal submissions or questions lodged to me, but we still have, we can still take those for another 7 days following this this meeting, so I'll hand over to both Manuel and Brett, and they can take it from there. Yeah, so sorry, Manuel, just before we go on, I'd just like to clarify this point before, when you mentioned about the 20th of November last year, we did actually have until the 30th of November last year to submit the, we weren't late last year, I just wanted to clarify.
Councillor's questions, Councillor Williams.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like the auditor to explain to me why the money we are owed for cost of a court case in 2015 isn't treated as a bad debt. It's owed by a ratepayer. Every other ratepayer has to pay interest from the moment the money became due. We put in a claim for our costs. We've heard nothing. It's never appeared in the council audit, and I just want them to explain why a bad debt isn't included.
Thank you, Brett. It's pretty much summarised as you indicated. We've sought to seek the reimbursement of outstanding monies through the legal channels, and letters are gone off to the companies that were party to the court case. So we're following that up.
Further questions to the auditors? Looks like you followed it fairly well, chaps. No questions, that's great. I thank you for your explanation and going through the annual financial statements, and we'll go from there. So we have a mover and a seconder. No mover and a seconder. Have a mover and a seconder, Councillor McAllister, Councillor McKinnon. All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Yeah. 9.7, that is the recommendation, those will have someone move please.
I'll move that all the applications be approved.
Second. Councillor Hayward. Are there any questions? Councillor Noonan's moved all of them. Does anybody have any questions on that? Yes, Councillor McAllister.
I do, Madam Mayor. I'm just interested in the Wentworth Catholic Parish being a privately owned building, and noting that previously we've had requests for assistance for upkeep of the nunnery, which is also a privately owned building. I'm just wondering, should this not be moved to an actual grant where we can seek funding through heritage or other measures, rather than the donations and contributions? It just seems to me there's significant work to be done, and it could be accommodated through other means.
Comments from the management.
It's an option. It meets the requirements of the donations, grants and contributions, but it's a call for councillors as to whether they think there's better avenues to potentially facilitate.
I'm interested specifically, if you'll bear with me, Madam Mayor, in the difference between the church and the nunnery, because I was led to understand that being privately owned, it wasn't something that council could assist with, and yet it is a significant piece of Wentworth's heritage, both buildings.
You'd have to refresh your memory on the nunnery one.
If I may, Madam Mayor, just having a quick check on our local environmental plan under our environmental heritage. Both those sites are listed as local heritage items.
So therefore, sorry, I don't.
So therefore, the obligation on local councils under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act and the Heritage Act, whatever else, is to try and preserve local history and local cultural heritage, etc. So the idea is.
Can I have said self, please? I might have a vaguely keenly interesting too.
Okay.
To change.
Sorry, Mr. Cullen, I just missed the end bit of that.
No, that's fine. Basically, as these items are listed under Schedule 5 of our environmental heritage of our local environmental plan, councils technically have an obligation, although it's not a legal obligation, but sort of to preserve the cultural heritage, and there's not a lot of grant funding opportunities for local heritage listed items.
Okay.
The only grant funding that becomes available for heritage items comes from the state heritage,
Yes.
or state heritage listed things. So that's probably why. I take your point, probably on building, etc., but it is a local heritage item.
And yeah, I can't remember potentially why we may have knocked back the previous application.
I'm not sure whether an application was made, which could be why. There were discussions about, I think roofing works needing to be done to preserve the nunnery, and I was told, and it might have been a previous general manager that said that we were unable to help, which would be disappointing if we're now going to give $5,000 to another heritage building.
And Mayor, I can remember money being given to the other church there, to the primary school, to the presbytery or the church, one of them got fixed up with council money.
Probably
It was more than
shared heritage money.
Yeah, but there's shy money in there.
Yeah.
I suppose it's a portion of the figure of 17,000 too, isn't it? So, are you happy with that?
Yes, thank you.
I'm just going back to that Wentworth Catholic. The amount of money here, 5,000, is fairly small for the amount of money that they will have to spend to do that. And I think it's great that we can contribute and help them along the way too. It's a public sort of thing. The other one with the other one sitting on private property, I think that might
they're both on private property. They're both on private property.
Yeah, but that is a church where people congregate and everything.
No, you're talking about the two premises in Bell Street, aren't you?
I'm talking about the nunnery, as it's known, as a separate item sitting on public land.
I would just make a comment, Madam Mayor, on heritage sites. I think it's something for the future to think about. I think state governments dropped the ball on really looking after people with those buildings and being involved in maintaining those places. I know there are several buildings in Wentworth around the place that don't get any assistance, and whether we can, in the future look towards reinvigorating some of that interest in preservation of our heritage. And it's pretty tough on private people to fund this, but I think, this is probably a need to go forward.
Any further questions or?
Just a question, is the land actually private land or has it been set aside for purposes of church?
I'm pretty sure it's on private.
So it's freehold.
Private rated land,
Freehold land, church as well?
It's freehold.
Freehold, okay.
No other questions? Being moved and seconded. Those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. And bring Councillor Wilson back in there, please.
I didn't know he changed faith.
It went up like a lot of the
You might have just seen Murray House. Yeah. Got a fright.
Under 50 bucks.
Yeah, 9.8, Code of Conduct Complaint Statistics for the period ending the 3rd of September 2021. And there's a recommendation there. Councillor Councillor Evans. He was probably lucky. Any comments?
I'll just second that with a comment that a lot of zeros there, Madam Mayor.
Thank God.
Can I just double check if I may? What's the deadline for code of conducts to be brought?
Yeah, in terms of the statistics and what this time period covers, is that what you're asking, or are you asking?
No, in general. There's no time limit.
No, there's no time limit, as long as a councillor or staff up in their existence can have a code of conduct investigation.
Or a member of the public. Thank you.
Any time, I think. Any other questions or comments? Being none, those in favour? Room report as a recommendation.
So moved.
Councillor Niven, second Councillor McAllister. Any questions, please?
I do have one, Madam
Councillor
Mayor,
McAllister.
and it's one of those boring, pedantic ones that everybody hates. Page 177. It looks like, I might be wrong, but it looks like it's the only instance where council has been given a plural pronoun. Council should pay its respects, being a singular entity. I've mentioned that before, but I'll probably continue to mention it. Can I also say, Madam Mayor, I think this is a really excellent piece of work. It's a great document and it really shows, probably as honestly as I've ever seen, not only the amount of work that council has set itself to do, but also what some of the issues have been. If I may, page 192, also under the our community achievements, the Disability Action Inclusion Plan, I think, should probably go in there because that was a substantial amount of work that council undertook, and I would count that as a achievement. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Just a comment, Madam Mayor, on page 179, I'll just be perhaps a little cautious how we word the points 1, 2, 3 and 4. It says economic Wentworth is a vibrant, growing and thriving shire. I think that should read the Wentworth Shire Council area rather than targeting Wentworth as the town, because the Shire is a different entity to the town itself. So it's just a thought and a comment.
May I speak to that?
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you. I was just going to say this wording's been taken from the community strategic plan, and those words were discussed at some length and tweaked, and that point was made, which is why it says Wentworth is a blah blah shire.
Yes.
And I think that's written that way all the way through. But as we're now in the consultation period again, it's a good time to bring these things up so the community can discuss them further.
Yeah, I think the thing that we need to look at, I mean, it highlights the warts as well as the good things. I think that's necessary because not everything we haven't achieved everything we wanted to achieve, but we have achieved a lot. A lot of problems are with COVID, of course, and you're right that the Wentworth Shire is not separated, it's one shire. So we represent the whole community, whether it be Cooncarra or whether it be Monac. So it's one of those things that we need to take to your hearing. Are there any other comments or questions that Mr. Reid be asked or want to be asked? Not those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Point 10, classified land, page 199. I move it, please, and second.
Are we allowed to do this in caretaker?
Yeah, it's not controversial. It's part of the requirements. I believe so. It's part of the course.
Councillor Hayward, a second, please. Councillor Kevin, are there any questions? No questions? Those in favour? Councillor Reid, are you in favour?
Yeah, I think it is.
It is? Yes. Carried.
Another 80 space for all.
911, new licence of dead men in a shed, Crown Reserve, 85836. There's a recommendation. Councillor Newman.
I'll remove recommendations 1 to 5.
Yes.
I'll second that.
1 to 5 as well, Councillor McKinnon? Yes. Are there any would like to speak to us?
Do we have to decide on the options? Listed on page 205 as part of the recommendation.
Okay. So, Which option would you like to move?
I'd go maximum of 21 years with the option of a renewal of a further term to be included.
Maximum 20 years with our ongoing option.
Option was 10 plus 10 after there's extra, so.
Is that what point 2 says?
I'll second that.
I does too, I do apologise, I missed that bit, scanned that bit. Anyway, just to be sure,
It says 2010 plus 10. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, okay. I was going to 21, but yeah, we'll go with 20. We'll all be dead by the time we get there. Some.
Are there any comments?
Good thing, let's get into it.
Yep.
Let's do it. Okay, those in favour? Thank you, it's carried. 9.12, Warrapoo Station Complex, Kelso, Parallel Road, Rupert, Dave Heritage denomination. Someone move it, please. Councillor Noonan, second is Councillor Evans. Are there any comments?
This is, Madam Mayor, this is more land we can't rate, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know.
Or a two rated sign,
Well, it depends on who the ownership of it
if you're
is.
an Indigenous Land Corporation or something.
Well, I suspect they'll be same ones as Moody Parking.
Still used for the same what they used previously.
Yeah, it's more to do with who the ownership is and yeah, whether they meet the definitions of a public benevolent institution.
Any further comments or
So
questions?
that's an answer that we can't rate it, is it?
Well, yeah, well, if they meet the definition of a public benevolent institution, well, then there's a need for they're exempt under the Local Government Act from the general rate.
I think it was set up as a rehab at one stage, so I think
it still is.
the state government should actually pay the rates on it.
But there's a lot of roads to get there, Madam Mayor, and if we're not getting reimbursed for it and we're having additional use of those roads, why can't we get at least a bit of maintenance money out for the road?
I think we'll take the point of view on notice and come back to you with who properties or amount of properties are attributable to general rates or garbage rates or water rates or whatever the case may be, who has sought dispensation or under the Act, they're entitled to that.
Was the original facility, wasn't it? Any further, it'll be taken on notice, Councillor Wilton, so we'll just sort of see, but I don't know that they have sewage up there.
Get rid of leakage or something.
Been moved and seconded, those in favour? Thank you, carried. 9.13, delegated authority approvals as at the end of October 2021. A move and a second, please. Councillor Evans, you've got your hand up, thank you. Seconded, Councillor McAllister. Questions, please? I've got a question if nobody else has. On pages 222, DA 2021-139, we've got, that's one huge shed. Have we looked at overshadowing and so on and so forth, or is there any possibility of that to additional properties?
That's already included, Madam Mayor, and that's within the industrial area, that part of,
It's in the industrial.
hang on 1 second, I'm not present. I'm pretty sure it's in the industrial area. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. Alright, that's all. Yes, Councillor McAllister.
Page 223, Madam Mayor, DA 2021/130, change of use to a boarding house. Is that a permitted use in that area, please?
It's two of those.
Yes, that is a permitted change of use. Reason being, that particular DA is actually for itinerant workers to support a local agricultural manufacturing in Goldball. And they're using that as a boarding house to house those. And they couldn't use it as a 1A as a residential dwelling, had to use it for a 1B boarding house.
Okay. It's not for hibiscus flowers, is it?
No.
allowing it, any further questions? No questions, been moved and seconded, those in favour? Thank you, it's carried. 9.14. Division, those in favour of division? Carried. Thank you. 9.14, page 226, project and works.
So moved.
Thank you, councillor Chelmsford. Thank you, councillor Elstone. Are there any questions? No questions?
I'd late to the party. Page 229, the school zone infrastructure program. What sort of works does that entail? Is that more gates up to the road so that people can only cross the road at one point and that sort of wonderful stuff that we've had in Golgol?
No, that's more in line with pavement markings and some of the infrastructure in and around the schools, but does include backing up onto the frontage to the schools as well when there's connection points and the like as well. So it's a combination of pavement concrete works with regards to the school zone and crossing points and potential shifting and relocation of some of the crossings.
Okay, so there's a whole of sort of school zones in the area focus put on it all.
Improvements in the area.
And would that include traffic islands where needed? If required.
If required, I'm sorry, I just can't recall off the top of my head if there's any specific islands in there, but it does include some of the other traffic control measures with regards to the speed and the highlighting of the school zones.
Thank you. Can I just finally, it's a supplementary, I guess. Does that also take into account kids safely getting to school? So shared pathways and bike tracks and that sort of thing? And I'm thinking specifically of Golgol where the kids have to cross the road twice if they live on one side of the road to access a path.
I'm not quite sure about that particular work with regards to that. I'm happy to follow up on that. It does include some path connections.
Okay.
Improvements. But as far as the drop-off points and the crossing points, but that is certainly been included as far as the work goes with regards to the bus points, the drop-off points and everything is all included in that. I'm happy to provide you some specific information with regards to those particular locations along the meeting.
Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon, then Councillor Whelan.
Just have we got any some additional works to be done at the Memorial Gardens? Will they come under this to get scheduled in? Remedial works? From the last...
Since you last raised the matter, we found out that there'll be installation of better water infrastructure, tank and pump and other bits and pieces, and also routine maintenance to bring it back into a spectacle that it was in terms of maintenance and weeding and mowing.
And it'll be replanting of a lot of stuff, so it's going to be a remedial works really when you look at it.
Okay.
If you want to bring it back to what it was. And I believe if we're building infrastructure, we should maintain it.
Indeed.
That's two, Madam Mayor. The first one is speed reduction coming off the Darling Street Bridge. The traffic committee have viewed it and given a recommendation. Just, it doesn't seem to be a hell of a big job to put the bloody signs up. And that's the first one. There has been a serious accident there since that.
Like an answer, councillor, if we can. Do we have an answer?
Yeah, we're councillor just waiting for the final approval from Transport to act on that. I understand that everyone is in agreement, and so we are waiting for the confirmation, approval, and that will be that signage as it was presented to previous meetings will be installed.
You know I don't like to hurry people, Madam Mayor, but the lake of water outside 38 Cadell Street is a health hazard. And if I suggest to them they put kerosene in the water so that the mosquitoes don't carry all these nice diseases like
Civilitis.
the ones that currently infest us in summer. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact term. And if I suggest to them they put kerosene in the water, because this is not last week's problem, it's been there for 30 years. If I suggest they put water, it most probably kill the street trees alongside the lake.
Do we have a problem, a drainage problem or something there? Does anybody know?
I'm unaware of that, but I'm happy to take that question on notice and provide some.
They have been told that it's in the budget, but I don't know when or where. I haven't seen it.
They can drive 8
Yeah, we're talking about the gardens at the cemetery at Derton, the lead up to there with those trees on the left-hand side going down there seem to be dying really quickly at the moment. Lack of water, along the road. Along that roadway.
They've gone past it, I think.
Somebody did fix things up and they greened up real well, and now they're gone fairly well backwards. Seems a shame.
Taking notice.
That's what I'm saying, it's remedial works, I think, rather than just maintenance.
Yeah.
Councillor Evans.
Just the Mayor, are we going to have the riverfront at Wentworth tidied up before Christmas? Is something going to happen or we don't?
There's somebody an answer to that, do we, are we going to have the river?
Have any plans?
I can follow up with the contractor and the project officer on that. I understand the reason for the construction fence remaining in place at in front of the rowing club is due to the capping being unable to be placed because of the high water. The houseboat mooring end is open, but I can follow up with regards to whether that has to remain in place or some form of that to provide some continuing safety with regards to that area and lead up to Christmas.
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Elstone.
if I could just just to continue on with that discussion to Jeff, was there any further consideration to Councillor Evans' request to perhaps turf that bit rather than seed it? As was discussed, I think, a little while ago.
Oh yeah, that has, everything is being organised. I think the quotes have been sought for that for remediation of that area, correct.
Is anybody else, anything else?
The playground equipment contractor is trying to make it going from Shire.
I'd just like to ask one question on page 228. The sewer rationalisation in Denton, whether damage has occurred to our new erected fence and perimeter fence, excavated that was dumped in it, did it have any identifying plates that were able to pursue the owner?
I'm not sure. The incident was reported to the police at the time. They've investigated and where it's been taken to and from there. I'm unaware of where that's at the moment. But certainly,
can we check that, because I mean that's just one vandalism, isn't it? Any further questions? No further questions. Been moved and seconded. Those in favour? Thank you. It's carried. Notices of motion and questions with notice. We'll go around. Oh, we'll take it. I'll take it after. Might be able to ask. No, can't ask. You can ask a question. Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? I'll go outside something. Councillor Williams? Councillor Noonan?
I'd just like to say I think it's pretty poor form when a current councillor and an applicant to be a councillor in the coming thing actively encourages people to send their children away from our own high school. That's my comment. I think it's bloody disgraceful and hypocritical to even say you're going to stand for council and represent the place as they behave to send your kids over the river.
I'd just like to go back to the Murdy parking issue. We're going to have at least 60 grand's worth of rates we're not collecting there. So we've had 3 public meetings back when I was mayor in the first period that people, or the people that own the houses were to pay rates. And it's not against the people in the houses, it's the actual people that own the whole lot, Murdy parking in this case. They sort of make it hard for the people that are living in the houses to put their heads up and say we're actually ratepayers and we live equally to you. So I think to call it a benevolent society is, well, somebody's going to have to replace it in our books. It's as simple as that. And I think we need to pursue that. There should be some way we can get around it. Not if you just tiptoe off and say, oh, it's too hard to touch. It's things that are actually happening there or not happening there. They have to get repairs done in front of their houses the same as everyone else. So just let's get fair dinkum for once and say it's one town. Not one town with Murdy parking, not paying part of it.
My understanding, and I'm 100% behind you, Ken, but my understanding that is an act of parliament. Yeah.
Done at the local government, basically, and they deem themselves to be within the middle.
I think, yeah, but I think we should still go past that.
We can progress that.
We should go around that and say, okay, you've done that. Now, where are you going to give us the money to replace that? And stop the discrimination between the people living either side.
Councillor Will.
Yes, Madam Mayor, just like to raise that we seem to have plenty of grants, but not a lot of bloody action. How many grants have we got going that are incomplete and might never be done the speed that they're doing, like the stuff with the civic building?
Yes,
I mean, we've owned the civic building over 5 years. How much of the building expenses have gone up in that time? It's incredible.
There is a list in here somewhere.
Yeah, there's a list of the grants we've unexpended.
As reported earlier on today, you can see the money that's come in and the program. I will say that there's only been one project, or maybe 2 projects, that we've asked for an extension on the final deadline. There's a barometer and another one thing. The money coming in for the Civic Centre will meet the deadlines for completion of the compartments for where the money's been allocated. I think probably to reflect back on the end of term report, well, it nominated that 53 of our deals or wish list hadn't been completed. Doesn't really capture that we had so much money coming to us and we have done additional projects and items. You know, $2 million worth of drought money for halls restoration. All those little bits and pieces add up to. We have been actively trying to achieve the best outcomes for the community. But I will acknowledge that there's the larger project of the Civic Centre which needs to move forward, and that's where we're at. But we haven't extended a deadline for the completion of the project.
Anything further? Councillor Hayward.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor McAllister.
Yeah, I need to address what's just been brought up. So the issue is that there's significant safety concerns that have ended up being dealt with by the court. Students being significantly violently attacked at the school, and the school has been unable to stop subsequent attacks of a criminal nature. And my concern was not that people take their children across the river, but that people keep their children safe. And if one family can not be dealt the harm that at least 3 families that I know of had to deal with in the last year, and also perhaps we can start making noise about getting a second high school in the region because the amount of kids that are moving, particularly into the Baronga Golgol area, is increasing. Lots of new families. We have 2 small primary schools that are almost at capacity, and there will be a need for another high school. I think if a school cannot abide by state policies in terms of anti-bullying and keeping children safe, then it is my duty as a committee member, a parent, and a school part of the school community to let other people know so that they don't get dealt the harm that significant others have.
Yes.
My only question is about whether designs for works at the park up at Pooncarie have been received and looked at, please.
Been received, but we haven't had any opportunities to fund.
Okay, so there may be a grant available.
We're trying to seek opportunity for other grant money.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and just through you, if I may, supplementary. Do you know if the whole of, is it PADA, the Progress Association, is behind the designs that you're aware of?
A whole, certainly 1, 2 husband and wife couple who are participating at our meetings have been represented, whether it's supported by the whole community or not, probably do that through the community consultation phase.
That'd be great. Excellent.
Determine that, so yeah, it is the way sometimes business happens. One family brought it to me and said, will you support this? And I said, I'll try and secure some funding when it's made available.
Thank you.
This is the last meeting, we'll go backwards, Councillor Wilson again.
Could I have some report on the security cameras? And I asked that because this last week the service station got vandalised. I think something went through the window and the cigarette machine was stolen. And I didn't tie it on and it fell off.
They lost it on the road, not up the road.
But I mean, my understanding is the security cameras didn't see it. And I just like some kind of report on what's happening, or is anything happening?
Yeah, here's somebody came out with a bat of some sort.
So still remains a project on our list for which to try and capture the central business district and prominent areas around the town. There was need to possibly secure them to light poles, but then they don't operate unless the lights are on or the power's to them, so you'd have to do extra power to them. So the apportionment of cost blew out in the installation component of it. So we've actually bought some cameras and put a server back in our network to capture the data from those, but the installation of them needs to be refined to work out whether we are going up. Light poles and costing about $7,000 a pole, they're telling me, or thereabouts, or doing it on our own infrastructure. But you know, we do have cameras here, we do have cameras at the Civic Centre, but the in-betweens are where the problems are on that corner of Sandwich and Adam and whatever else. So it's a works in progress for which we'll try and secure more money out of the next round of.
I don't think it's the owners of the buildings that are worried about the electricity part of it. I mean, I pay for half Darling Street lighting under the veranda, but I think, you know, the council's got to do some integrated camera system of some kind.
Yeah, and that's certainly the game plan. But by the time we got the reliable cameras that did blow out in cost, to be honest with you, for which now we're going to secure the installation in the next round of Building Better Regions component of money available in January.
Yeah. Mr. Mundy asked a similar question of me at a recent tourism meeting, and the answer given is pretty much the answer that went out to that gentleman a few days ago. So, and the cost, the new cameras apparently do a 360 degree, which is a better intake than what we previously had.
Just on that camera thing, they need to get the clarity on these CTV cameras. People are there, but they can't recognise them. they're too scratchy.
That's a very valid point, to the point where our IT team have secured higher resolution, more 360 degrees, but now it's the installation component. We bought the hardware to capture the data, we bought a certain amount of cameras, now it's the installation component, which will serve the community best. I do.
If I can just make a comment on that. To me, it's a bit of a pride. It seems to me that priorities tend to be picking up the pieces and being able to fund lots of things and make variations to a lot of programs we do, whether they be projects, etc. But the town's safety doesn't seem to be a priority. In 5 years, we haven't had any action at all, except to ask all the other property owners, which has been a bit of a survey as to who's got cameras and who hasn't. There's still nothing really in there that couldn't be prioritised, and I hope the next council may be able to sort that out a little bit.
I haven't got a great deal, Madam Mayor, just pleased to hear today the Hannah Branch is made about halfway through to the Murray. I think there's about the 183 down. By the look of the recent rain up north, that will run for a fair while, I hope, and we'll probably get a little bit down the Darling as well. So that's probably about it for me. Just to thank you to all councillors for your support for the 5 years while I've been in the deputy's role, and wish everyone the best moving forward, and acknowledge Councillor McKinnon and Moon, they're retired.
Thanks.
Having said that, yes, Councillor Elstone, thank you very much. Pretty much what I said in September is what is going to be said again today. I hope there would be other things that would happen today which haven't occurred, but I believe they'll be forthcoming. But yes, thanks to every councillor sitting in this room. We're all individuals, we're all different. We don't always agree. Thank God we don't always agree. We'll probably be wearing one colour suit and marching with a stiff leg or something. But it is very much appreciated. Everybody's thoughts have come through. Everybody's had a say. We've tried to allow people to have a say. I particularly also want to thank, make notice again of Councillor Hendricks, who is not here at this time of the work that she's put in, which was appreciated. To Councillor Noonan and Councillor McKinnon, thank you very much for the many years, and you've only got to look at the photos, I don't know how many years it is, years and years and years, and a lot of that work is done at personal cost. I've probably realised how much effort's been put in by some councillors. Having said that, all those who are standing, I wish you well. To those people who intend to stand, I wish you well as well. I'm a little bit disappointed that there's only one person sitting in the gallery who's shown an interest. People just don't realise how much time and how much effort is needed to become a councillor, or to put in to do council jobs properly. I'd finally like to thank particularly the man sitting on my left, who I talk to every week and quite often. Tim has supported in every way possible that he possibly could since I've been sitting here. I'd like to thank the staff, particularly during the last 12 months, and once we got COVID in our own section. And let me say, it will happen, and those people who sit in grandeur thinking it's not going to happen, it will come. But Ken, I know how much time you've put into, and I know, Gail, the hours when I receive emails at before 8 o'clock in the morning, I know the staff are working. So new staff, we've got everyone down here, and I think they'll be an advantage to our organisation, but to the staff and sitting here, I thank you for the work that you put in on behalf of the residents of the Shire. Having said that, to those who are standing again, hope you do well, and we'll see what happens on the 4th. The only thing with the 4th is that you're going to be standing a bloody long way away to hand out the votes, because it's 100 metres, so it just won't happen. Having said that, we are today going to finish off with lunch. We've been a fairly frugal council as far as it goes with what councils may and may not have. So with that, I'll close this council. Yes.
Before you do, could the general manager keep a list of all the shortcomings of the New South Wales Electoral Commission? I noticed that when we had to put our nominations in, there wasn't an officer here in Wentworth. It was in Broken Hill. I mean, I think their performance has been pitiful, and it should take it on notice that we should be running our own election from in the future.
It took, if I understand, it took a long
Especially
time.
Postal voting.
We're a month short of postal voting, unfortunately. So, but having said that, look, I do sincerely thank everybody here. I do thank you for the input you've put in. We haven't always seen eye to eye, but thank you very much, and I'll close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.